Hi, good morning, good afternoon, good evening to everybody around the world. This is Arish Rojas from WIN-911 Alarm Notification Software. Thank you very much for participating on today's webinar. Mike is part of the AVEVA team and would like to have a couple words. Can everybody hear us? We should have everybody. Now they are online. So Mike, go ahead and take it away.
Thanks, Arish. My name is Mike Aldridge. I'm a business development manager with AVEVA. I manage the technology partner program for the Monitor Control business unit. WIN-911 has been a certified partner with us for many years, starting with the Wonderware program and have continued through into the AVEVA program. They're an important partner of ours, and I appreciate them taking the time to put on this webinar. Thank you, Arish, and thanks, Chris.
Very welcome.
Take it away.
Excellent. Chris, you are now the presenter. Thank you. So today's webinar for everybody, WIN-911 4.20.13 is our newest release. Today we're going to be talking about Wonderware or AVEVA now, AVEVA InTouch HMI. With that, let me tell you a little bit about WIN-911, who we are, what we have done in the past. So let's go to the next slide. So a little bit of a background for WIN-911. WIN-911 is the most widely used alarm notification software. We have been deploying over 17,000 different facilities worldwide, 70 different countries. Obviously, we have partnerships with all major SCADAs. AVEVA is one of our strongest, if not the strongest, channel partner that we have. And we, within AVEVA, we have InTouch Edge, system platform, and what today we're going to be talking about is Wonderware or AVEVA InTouch. The headquarters here of WIN-911 are in Austin, Texas. But we have offices all over the world. We have offices in France, Mexico, and China. So today we just wanted to say thank you to our network of distributors and system integrators worldwide. We appreciate everything that you guys have done for us. Next, we'll talk a little bit about what we have and what we have done in the size of the industries. What type of industries at WIN-911? Where can you find our product? Well, you know, we have oil and gas, food and beverage, life sciences, manufacturing, and water wastewater are our top 5 industries. But we serve a lot more than that. There is a lot of customers that use us in the data centers, in the aerospace, mining, disaster prevention, and power generation. So there is a lot more where you guys can see the WIN-911 product, right? So the next slide, you might ask, you know, what is WIN-911? What do we actually do? Well, we deliver the right alarm to the right person on the right device. So if you think about it, and you see the picture below here, we have on the left-hand side a plant. And inside of that plant, we have an HMI, we have a SCADA, and we also, that's where the alarms are happening. Now, when that happens, you know, you normally have to be in front of your HMI to take a look at the alarm. But with WIN-911, WIN-911 will become the brain. It will become the collaboration, the scheduling, the reporting, and also the escalation of that alarm. So it's a smart processing. Now, when we talk about the alarms and they're happening inside of your plant, you know, there has to be a way to notify. So we actually, WIN-911 has 5 different notification methods available to you via the WIN-911 mobile app, the text, voice, email, and announcer. Now, out of those 5 notification methods, 4 of them are two-way notification. So the app the text, the voice, and the email are two-way notifications, and they're encrypted communication. What does that mean? So with WIN-911, you're going to be able to automatically see that alarm, and not only that, but acknowledge that you have seen that alarm. So that is really, really important. So let's talk about and get in depth into what WIN-911 is able to do with InTouch. So on the next slide, we'll see the WIN-911 overview. AVEVA InTouch HMI, that is what we call the data source. That is the SCADA, and that's what we use to send the alarms out to the dispatcher and the reporting tool, which that's what we call the escalation or call out list. That's where WIN-911 takes over. And then from there, we're able to receive and acknowledge those alarms on multiple devices. It could be your phone line, it could be an analog line, it could be a mobile, it could be an email, it could be text, or it could be the mobile application that we'll talk about and we'll demonstrate later on today. From here, let's go more in depth with the integration of AVEVA InTouch. Inside of our demo today, we're going to actually see the configuration and subscription filterings available to WIN-911. When we integrate with AVEVA InTouch, we'll be able to do so with tag names, group names, and priorities. So what's kind of unique about WIN-911 and why is the market leader? Well, we have direct connects, and the advantages of that direct connection directly to the SCADA is that no alarm configuration is inside of WIN-911. The alarm configuration always happens inside of the HMI, inside of your SCADA, and you're dynamically receiving those new alarms into WIN-911. And acknowledgements are seamless. So when we're talking about acknowledgements are seamless, we're saying, hey, you are acknowledging that alarm like if you were in front of your HMI, but remote. So it is remote alarming notification what we're able to provide to you, to your customers, if you're an SI or if you are a distributor. Next, we'll talk about an example of an InTouch architecture. So here we actually have what a normal architecture will look like, right? You have the field network, you have all of your PLCs, it could be anybody's, right? And then all of these are being managed by your SCADA. In this case, it's going to be InTouch. That's you have server A, you have server B. Now you have inside of these two servers, you have multiple InTouch applications. And then you have your supervisor network, which could be PCs or HMIs or so on. So what you do is you put WIN-911 inside of your server 1. Now, if you want to communicate to server 2, and it's not necessarily a hot backup, but it's just a second server, instead of creating and buying and purchasing a brand new WIN-911 license, you can purchase what we call a node license. And this is what we're showing here. So WIN-911 can be installed inside of an InTouch server or any PC inside of the network access to an InTouch server. So as long as we know and understand that, you're going to be able to realize that WIN-911 is very, very flexible. Next, we'll talk about the updates on SCADA support before we get into switching to Chris Cave. So there are a couple things, you know, the SCADAs have continuously been moving forward. System Platform and InTouch are now using their 2020 release. So WIN-911 has now availability to do that. So we are able to do to communicate with now InTouch 2020. And next, we are also doing AVEVA Edge 2020. So we are now supporting that. And in the next couple clicks away, we're going to see how that looks like when you're doing the installation of WIN-911. It will show like this, right? Here are your different SCADA platforms, and here's what it's going to look like. So as you can see, we're doing, as an example, InTouch HMI. And then if you do the next one, you'll go ahead and see AVEVA Edge. From here, you can pick which version we're going to be doing. Now, next, I am going to pass this to Chris Cave. Chris Cave is part of our technical support team. You've probably seen him quite a bit in any of the webinars for WIN-911. It's just a rock star, so we're looking forward to hearing from him.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining. Really appreciate you coming out and viewing our presentation. Again, my name is Chris Cave. I've been with WIN-911 for about 2 years, and I do work in product support, so you may have opened a ticket with me, and we may have worked in the past. So today we're going to be talking about some of the tools. We consider this our suite of tools, and some of these get installed automatically during the regular install, but some of them you have to install after the fact. Example of that is the contacts utility. And what that'll do is let you open up your tactics and change your call out list without actually having to open up Workspace in Internet Explorer. Another one is the announcer, and this will enunciate alarms through your PC speaker. And once they're installed, they're both shortcuts in the start menu, which I'll show you an example of later. One of our new tools with the latest version is the account change utility. One of the things you may have realized in the past is we always had to set a username and password, and that username and password could not be changed or it would break the services. Now we have a tool that lets you do that. And then Mobile Hub is a way of using mobile as a proxy. You can, let's say you have your WIN-911 server off the internet, but maybe you have another machine inside the DMZ with internet access, and you could use Mobile Hub to connect your mobile gateway. And then the uninstaller now gets included with the install. Before you had to track that down through the installation files, but now it actually becomes a shortcut menu in the start menu. So here's an example of the contacts utility. You can see you have all the same options you would if you were actually in the workspace, and you can do this on the fly. You can change the call out order, set the repeats different if you like. There's also a connections tab up there, which I don't have an example of, but in the connections tab, you can actually change the roles or change a user's schedule if you need to. And then this is a quick screenshot of the announcer, and you can do it based on all strategies, or you can set up different strategies, and we can select what states to announce if we want. We have some audio, we have an audio tab, alarm format. With the alarm format tab, you can pick and choose how you want the alarm to enunciate. And then the say as tool is a way of using acronyms to be able to say something. And so if the acronym comes up of ALM, you could tell it to say alarm instead of ALM. And then this is an example of the V7 import utility. So if you're upgrading from our legacy product, we can keep your same configuration and just import it straight into the new system after you've installed the new system. And it's really just made up of 2 files, an INI file and then your MDB file. You can always copy and paste that to your new computer if you've installed it on a new computer, and just use the browse buttons to browse those files for you. And here's our example of the start menu where these suites of tools get applied. So we have the account change utility. If you've installed Announcer, you'll see that option. We also have the uninstaller in there now as well, and then you can access the contacts utility. One cool thing about the contacts utility, a lot of people have an HMI that's in full screen and they often cannot minimize that. You can embed a button into your HMI to open up the contacts utility on top of your HMI so you can change your call out list and then close it later if you like. And one of our new features in our latest version is the ability to export your alarms from Log Viewer. You can export the historical data if you'd like. With this, you would have to actually uncheck the auto update button up at the top left, and then you can set a date range, and you'd be able to export to PDF or CSV if you like. We also have the export option for the notification tab. So if we see at the top left, the alarm option was more of what the alarms were doing, and the notifications is more of a summary of what's going on. And you can export this list as well. And here's an example of what it would look like if you open it up in a PDF. Here are some of our new modems that we're going to be supporting soon, if not already. I don't think we're quite ready for the MTR, but we're working on testing and qualifying that. And so there's some new options for SMS modems if you like. Our latest and greatest is a Sierra Wireless. It's been pretty solid. Don't really get too many tickets on that one. So you may have a little bit of trouble setting it up in the beginning because of the way that the web space works, but it's pretty easy usually and pretty reliable. All right, so now we're going to get into a live demo of WIN-911, and we're going to start with the workspace first. So I'm going to bring over my VM here. And this is an example of our workspace. It opens up in Internet Explorer, which I know some people hate that option, but right now it is what it is, and we're working on moving away from Internet Explorer because of Silverlight. So Workspace is open through the Start menu. If you went to the WIN-911 folder, or if you open it up through the shortcut here, we get this to open up. And we recommend configuring from left to right. So you would start with your contacts, set up your gateway. These are going to be your notifiers. If you want email, you connect to an email server, and in this example, I'm using Gmail, a free Gmail account, but if the customer has their own mail server, we would be able to connect to that. And just think of it like a third-party mail client that's going to be sending the emails from this account. Voice, we use our GrandStream as a good example. GrandStream is a way of converting a voice over IP connection to an analog connection. And we do sell the GrandStream pre-configured, so it's really easy to set up. And then the SMS, if you connected an SMS modem, you can just need the COM port, or if it's going to be a telnet connection, we can do either or. And then WIN-911 Mobile is my favorite. We provide you with the user account here and a temporary password to set up your mobile gateway account. And once it's connected, it'll connect to Microsoft Azure. So once we've set up the gateways, then it's time to set up the phone book. And we still follow the path from left to right, so it'd be contacts and then connections. And then each notifier has its own list of users. So if I wanted to be emailed, I would have to set up my email users. And I could also set up my voice users, and then my SMS, and my mobile users. We can change alarm formats as far as how the person might want to hear the alarm, or maybe see the alarm through email, so that's an option. Roles is a way of grouping people together for organizational purposes. It's not necessary for the system to function, but it is a way of being able to group people together for organizational. And then scheduling, you can create schedules for users. And what this means is if someone's on the day shift and the alarm comes in at night, then it's just going to skip over them in the call out orders, and because they're not on schedule at the time. And creating schedules is similar to like creating an Outlook event or a meeting, reoccurring meeting. So it's really similar to how you do it in Outlook. Once we have all that set, then it's time to move from left to right, and we go to our notifications. So notifications, think of this like the dispatcher module that we saw earlier. It's the middleman. It's the one that formulates the messages and gets things ready to send out to the users. And our tactic is where we start our call out list. So we want to start with our call out list, creating it first. And I'm just going to run through this pretty quickly here. The before notifications, probably pretty straightforward. It basically means give me 5 minutes or so before you send out a notification if you'd like to do that. And then the repeats is how often this list will repeat based on the strategy stop condition, which I'll show you later. But here we can see that Arish and I would both receive a mobile alert. It's going to wait 30 minutes to give us a chance to acknowledge. And if we hadn't acknowledged the alarm by that point, it would repeat and send us another notification up to 3 times. And hopefully that would be enough time for one of us to acknowledge it. Once we have our tactics set, then it's time to create the strategy. The strategy is more like the policy maker of how you want to handle the alarm, whether you want to re-notify on state change or how you want to stop the call out list. And so by default, the stops condition is usually when terminal, and terminal means that the alarm would have to be acknowledged plus return to normal before it stops calling people. And so probably most common is stopping it when acknowledged. So what that means is, let's say you're calling out a group of users, the first person answers, he acknowledges the alarm, and that would stop the call out list. That would stop it from calling anyone else on the list. So this is probably the most common way to stop the call out list. Now, once we have our strategy configured, then it's time to work on our alarming and creating our data source connection. And so we can start with subscriptions, and subscriptions is a way of bringing in the alarms. We could do it based on priority, all groups, or tag names. And here's a couple examples of where I'm doing different priority ranges. And here's where I'm actually using a label, which is a way of grouping alarms together. And so earlier we saw roles, which is a way of grouping users, and then labels is a way of grouping the alarms. And you can use these options in the advanced tactic, which I'll show you a bit later here. So once you have your subscription set, and just a quick example, so you could do specific tag names, and you can add more tag names if you want. You can do group names and add more group names if you'd like there as well. And then you can set either a specific priority or a specific priority range or a specific priority itself. And once that's set, then it's time to create our application, our data source connection to InTouch. And most common setup is we install WIN-911 on the InTouch server, or at least where InTouch installed, and you may most likely have a window viewer going, and then we would just connect locally to that window viewer session on that computer. Once that's set, then we can bring in our alarms, and that's done through the subscription route. So we do have a default option for all alarms. That just means give me everything. But if I wanted to, I could add other routes. And the way this works is that it's a ranking system. It always starts with the top when searching for filters. So if I wanted to, I could have this one come in first. It would check this filter. I could have it point to a different strategy if I wanted to, and have it point to a different call group. But if the alarm filter doesn't match, then it's going to move to the next rank. And here I could have my catch-all basically going to all alarms, going to my basic strategy if I like. Now, once it's all said and done, then it's time to actually test it. And so if we go back out to my HMI, and let's see, I'll just trigger a digital alarm here. We use Log Viewer, which is open through the Start menu to be able to see the alarms come in. And so here we can see that my alarm has shown up. And if I switch to notifications, it will show that quick summary of what happened. And there goes my mobile alert. And so here we can see the alarm tripped. We can see who got notified and whether it was successful or not. I can switch back to alarming here, and I can double click on the alarm row and drill down into it and actually see which details happen. So here's the notifications. Right now it hasn't been acknowledged yet. This is what strategy it took, and then the tactic execution. And so you can actually see it go down the call list. And right now it is waiting for my 30 minutes to see if one of us acknowledge it. And then if we go back, we can go back to state changes and see if that state change happened at all, or if there's any state changes. We hit the red arrow to get back to the main screen again. And then we saw earlier our export options. So if we uncheck this option, I could set my date range and see what, let me go back just a little bit further, actually. So let's see, that should give me a bigger list there. And then if I like, I can just export and save it somewhere to my desktop or wherever as Excel, an Excel file or CSV file or a PDF file. Okay, so I'm going to check my box back to show live alarms again. And in this case, I'm just going to acknowledge the alarm from Log Viewer, and we can set a comment if you want. It's optional. If we hit OK, we can see that it actually acknowledges back to the SCADA, which is probably one of the best features in my opinion about WIN-911 is the fact that you have an option for remote acknowledgement, and it acknowledges all back to the SCADA for you. So the operators in the control rooms will be able to see that. Okay, I'm going to turn off this and just going to cover a bit more about the modules up here. So with reporting, reporting is a way of requesting a report to show you what those values are of the tags at the time. It doesn't matter if they're active or not, it's going to show you that those numbered values regardless. And for reporting to work, you actually do have to import alarms into WIN-911. You won't be able to use the subscriptions to do that. And so if we go back to alarming, InTouch, and then import here, we can check our little box that we understand, click next, and we would have to do a DB dump from the application, the InTouch application manager, which creates a CSV file. And then we use that CSV file to import the alarms. Once the alarms are imported, then they will show up under the tags here. And in this case, I just created a couple examples of tags. I call them report_push, but they're really just digital tags that are in my HMI. And once I have my tags in here, then I can go and create a report. So I'm going to start with a new report. And we give it a number, and each number has to be different because the way it works is when you on your mobile app, you would see a list of your reports 1, 2, 3, or 4. Or if you wanted to request through email, you could send an email to your email gateway, and in the subject line, put in report and then the number of report you want. So if I wanted 1, it would be report space 1 or report space 2 or so on. So in this case, I'll put in 3. I'll just give it a quick name. And then I can start bringing in my imported tags if I want. I can bring them all in or just one at a time if I just wanted 1 or whatever. And once that's saved, then it becomes a report and I can call on that report anytime. And then last but not least is our system module, and this is probably pretty straightforward. The information, this will show you what version you're on, what license type you have. If you have a support contract with this, it'll show you when it expires and what modules you have installed, and then our contact information at the bottom. And then we have the standby activate option. And so if we switch the system to standby, you're still going to receive alarms and log viewers. It's just going to send everything to the do not notify strategy. And so it's a way of, you can always use standby for testing. So that way you're not bugging everyone while you're trying to trip alarms and making sure they show up and everything like that. Okay. So hopefully you've enjoyed this quick presentation of everything. Now we're gonna start talking about mobile, and I'll pass it back to Arish now, and we'll get to a mobile demo going.
All right, let's see if we can do this. Is there a little bit of feedback? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Make that change here.
We could always walk everyone through it. If you'd like, you can go ahead and go out to, like on your mobile phone, if you'd like to join us in the demo, you can go out to either your Google Play Store or your App Store on your phone, look for the WIN-911 mobile app and go ahead and download it. When you launch it, you'll have an option to log in as demo, and we can all play around with the demo if you'd like.
How about this? Can you guys hear me okay?
I can hear you.
Is there a little feedback or not really?
It's a little bit, yeah. It's not horrible though. Can't hear you anymore.
How about now? Can you hear me?
There we go.
Okay, let me see. Excellent. So from here, now you guys can hear me okay, Chris? Check. Awesome, great. So if you go to your phone and download on your phone the WIN-911 mobile, and it will look like the logo showing here. That's the way that we can do this. So I'm going to give a couple seconds for people to go to their on their iPhone or the Android and try to search in your app store for WIN-911 mobile, and it should look like a rocket, the logo. And in the meantime, we'll talk a little bit about WIN-911 mobile. We released this application back in 2019, and second. Sorry about that. We released this application back in 2019, and since then, this is actually I believe the third generation of this app. We had an app already for our version 1, and this is the third generation. As you all kind of come through and download the app, whenever you guys have a chance, you open up the app and you click on Use Demo. So let's go ahead and click Use Demo here. There's going to be a pop-up saying that this is a 15-minute demo and it will expire at that time. We'll go ahead and hit OK. And then we should see several different alarms. Now, Anybody could see this, anybody could have it on their phone. This is completely free for you guys to demo. So you guys can see that we have several alarms coming through. From here, the third one is a storage water pump. We're all gonna go ahead and do that. And Chris, if you wouldn't mind also opening that up for me. Let's go to the storage water water pump. Now, everybody might have a little different information on your alarm. So freshwater storage water pump, this is the alarm that we decided to pick. As you guys can see, we have tag description name, condition description name, value, event time, gateway demo, severity, tag ID, and so on. Now, kind of the uniqueness of WIN-911 is what Chris have mentioned before. We're able to acknowledge back to the SCADA. So when we click, hello, when we click acknowledge, we can say my name, Arish Rojas. Heck, you can put anything on that comment. But in a second, you'll see that the alarm would be acknowledged. So let's go back to here. Okay. So now that we have seen that the alarm has been acknowledged, you'll see that this alarm was acknowledged at 11:01, but the alarm actually happened at 10:57. So you guys can see the fall through, right? So 10:57, it was the alarm. At 11:01, it got acknowledged. And then if you go to the top middle, there is a chat. And I think some people have already taken a look at that. So let's go ahead and click on chat. Sorry about that. And hi. Arish. So this is me chatting. Chris, if you wouldn't mind putting your name there. Hello, people. There you go. As you guys can all see, we can all interact and chat about what is happening in this alarm. So we have multiple people coming through and be able to interact with each other. So when we see the alarm, we can say, hey, this is a false alarm, right? I'll be there in 5 minutes, and so on. So you can start that chat about that specific alarm. Now, if you go to the top right where it says team, you guys can see anybody that has seen this alarm. Now, right now we have demo user 1 through 50, right? But when you have installed the app and you have it inside of your system, you'll actually have names. You'll have names or phone numbers, however you decide to do that, right? So here you'll have, you know, Arish, Chris Cave, and anybody else. So this is really interesting. This is what the WIN-911 app is going to be able to provide to you. Now, I want you guys, if you have an Android, I want you guys to go to the top left of your screen and then hit the 3 bars. You should see alarms, reports, settings, feedback, and logout. I want you guys to click on settings. One of the things that I wanted to show you is that on settings, you are able to change the format of how much information you're able to see in this application. So I want you to go to alarm details, click on alarm details, and here will be displayed. These are all of the alarm details that you're gonna be able to see and currently being displayed on this mobile app. And if you scroll all the way down, you are gonna see some of them that are in green. These are available to display, but are currently not being displayed. So I'm gonna hit and add limit, and then I'm gonna take source, condition description, and quality out. So remember, we took a couple out, we added limit. If we go back to your top left and click back on alarms. And let's pick the very first one, the computer room door. You'll see that now at the bottom, you actually have limits. So we took things out and we added one. Now, if you're doing this in your Apple phone, right, in your iPhone, you're going to be able to do this a little differently. The only thing is it's going to request you to say done, so for things to take over. Android and Apple are just a little differently of how they manage. In the Android phone, you got to go to the top left to the 3 lines to be able to see your different alarm support settings, and on Apple is right at the bottom. You'll see just the little icons, right? The alarm icon right on the middle. You have the report, and then you have your setting gearbox at the bottom. So all of that you can find at the bottom. I want you guys to go ahead and click on reports. So top left, 3 lines, reports. And from here we have report 1 through 4 and 22. These are different reports for different sites. So we're going to take the very first one, the demo site 1, all OPC tags. As we click on this, we have computer room, smoke detector, and the HVAC air temperature. Let's focus on the second one, on index number 2, HVAC air temperature. As you guys can see on the reports, you're able to see the values. So in this case, the HVAC current temperature is 85 Fahrenheit. But you know that this could be an alarm. Let's say that if it hits 90, this will become an alarm. So what you can do with this report is you can check on this report every 10 minutes, every hour, every 2 hours, or so on, or before every shift, or after every shift, and you can see and take a look and proactively see things before they happen. So let's say that 10 minutes down the line, the index 2, right, the HVAC air temperature goes from 85 to 87. You know that there is something wrong. You know that in 10 minutes you shouldn't see a 2-degree of difference. So that's how the report works. Now, for certain phones, you're going to be able to rotate your phone and do a split screen. This is mostly for Androids or a phone that is large enough. So you can do this on a tablet a lot of the times. In my Android phone, I'm able to do this. And what this allows me to do is move from report to report pretty quickly. On the left-hand side, I have my demo site, so I can switch from demo site 1, 2, 3, right, and 4. And then on the right-hand side, I actually have a report, so then I can take a look at that. So if I go back to demo site 1 and I see all OPC tags, I can scroll down on the report on the right-hand side. So a very cool, nifty tool, and it's just as a rotating your phone or rotating your tablet. Now, you know, one of the questions that we get asked the most is, hey, is this application only available for your phone? No, this is available to your tablet. It's also even available on a smartwatch. So if you get an alarm, your smartwatch will come through and you're going to be able to see that alarm tag coming through your watch. All right, let's go back over here and rotate it back. Okay, just take a second. All right, we're going to go to the 3 lines if you have an Android, and let's go back to settings. If you have an iPhone, just go to the gearbox at the bottom right. And on settings, I want you guys to see do not disturb. Let's go ahead and slide that to the right. So do not disturb. And this is going to populate a calendar. Now, this is when, let's say that you forgot to say that you were out on vacation. You told your manager, but you didn't put this information on your SCADA or on WIN-911, and you're just getting pop-ups, alarms coming through. A do not disturb would allow you to say, hey, I want to see the alarms, but at my own time. I don't want any pop-ups coming through. So let's say that I'm going to be on vacation from today until Saturday, and 12:09 p.m. would work. So we're going to go hit set. As we do that, you'll see that inside of your app, it will say do not disturb until January 16, 2021 at 12:09 p.m. Once again, the alarms will still continue to be on, right? If you go into the app, you're going to be able to see those alarms. The only difference that the do not disturb option gives you is that there's not going to be any pop-ups. So with that, we conclude the demo of the WIN-911 mobile. Let's go ahead and log out. Okay, and then I'm gonna release the presenter back to Chris. So give me one quick second. Make presenter, yes.
Okay, so hopefully you can see our screen again. And this is going to show you how mobile works in the background. So the mobile gateway that's going to connect to Microsoft. This will be where your plant is, and so our mobile module connects out to Microsoft Azure's cloud services, and we basically use this as a relay to connect to the mobile phone to send the push notifications and all that. And if you notice, it's just an outbound connection. There's no more inbound traffic. So when the acknowledgement happens back into the cloud services, it's just an API that we're constantly refreshing and checking. And if we see a change in that, then we know that the alarm's been acknowledged. But there's never any inbound traffic anymore. And so what this means is you don't have to worry about opening up firewall ports anymore on your network, on your router. And this is an example of the mobile hub. And so perhaps your WIN-911 server does not have internet access, but you have a machine inside the DMZ that does. And so we can install the mobile hub software on that computer. WIN-911's gateway will talk to the mobile hub, and the mobile hub will end up talking to Microsoft Azure. And then all the traffic again goes to the mobile app, and then the mobile app updates Azure. And we are just using API and relay to make sure there's no more inbound traffic there. And you can have multiple WIN-911 sites go to a single app. And so if you have your plants out there, your water plant or wastewater pumping station, they all could have an individual WIN-911 server, and they can all connect to the same Microsoft Azure directory services. And so one person can have alarms coming from all three sites if they need it. So here are some things that we are working on. I mentioned earlier that we are working on a new version of WIN-911 that's going to be a desktop UI again. So that means it will not rely on Internet Explorer, no more Silverlight. We're still going to be using Windows services to run real time all the time. So meaning you can make changes to your configuration and you don't have to worry about restarting the app. And then we're also working on setting up a true redundancy with automatic failover. Right now you have to use scripting in your SCADA to switch from active to standby, but we're going to try to automate that for you in the future, make that easier to configure. And then we're also working on OPC UA. Unfortunately, there's no ETA on that at this time, but it is something that we're looking forward to and having added to WIN-911. And that completes our presentation. We thank you all, and if you have any questions, now's a good time.